ذريتهم بإيمان ألحقنا بهم ذريتهم وما ألتناهم من عملهم من شيء. That those who believe and the dhurriya, their offsprings, follow them with Iman, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make them join, meaning in Jannah. The lower level will be elevated to those who are on high level. This is by the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is in Jannah. They used to have relationships in this life. So when we're living and we're witnessing the many relationships we have, in the beginning we were born alone, a person will go to the grave alone, and then people will be reunited again if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on them and they enter Jannah. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made our life and the matters of ubudiyyah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as we all know, to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone and the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that has to be observed, and also the rights of the human beings that we interact with during our life. So the human beings that we see and interact with and are related to, you will find in the Quran and Hadith of the Prophet ﷺ mentioning them, rulings, ahkam, has to do with one's money, with one's actions, with one's manners, many things. The matter is a serious one. And the deen of Islam definitely is a serious thing, which is our own way of life has to be according to this. Many people, when they look into the religion, they would look into the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only. And the rights of the human beings and relationships and so on, they would not govern it by the deen of Islam. And the reasons for that are many, but this is not the point of mentioning the reason. But this is to say that we need to make sure that we include this, that this is such an important part of our deen, and there's no separation between the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or the rights of the human being from the aspect that it's all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That the rights of the human beings, they get these rights by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when we talk about the rights of brotherhood and so on, this is just part of many rights in our life. Especially for those, many of us who they left their families, or a big portion of their families are in different parts of the world. They have rights, they have to observe it. And we have to know this and we have to apply it. And it is not related to how they are treating us, or how kind or how bad or how good or evil they are. Yes, there is some slight change in the relationship, might be. But for the most part, there has to be some form of good relationship, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered us in the Quran. Salat al-arham, birr al-walidain, to be kind to the kin and kith, kind to the parents, one's family. And you will find even the ties of the families here, everybody, for those who came from other countries, they will see very clearly, even on their personal level, it's not the same as it is back where they come from. And there are some of the things where in Muslim cultures you would find it the same in most of the Muslim countries, which is a good thing, even if you don't find the direct evidence in the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, something that they took it from one generation to the other. Like you would find, for example, where the parents are so respected, of course, which is part of the deen, but people would have many children and grandchildren, and in many cases they would live all together, very close physically together. And this is definitely one of the good things. Why? Because they will be able to fulfill these rights. The rights of the relatives and the kin and kith and so on. A person can travel, of course, and go different places, but you would find for the most part they tend to be close to each other, which is a good thing. So for those who choose to be away, then they should do something to make sure that the relationships still alive, especially for our children and generations to come. The relationship is cut off, is terminated from their families and their cousins and cousins of cousins, and not just one generation but down into other generations. This has to be observed, and this is part of the deen. This is part of the deen that we have to make sure that we do something about it, as we know from the hadith and the ayat of the Quran. To the extent of which, for example, as an example, you know that a diya, or the blood money as they call it, if someone, say your cousin from your father's side, somewhere in the world, he accidentally hit someone with his car and he killed him, right? So there is diyah to be given to the family of the deceased. Who's going to pay the diyah? Your cousin that you don't know anything about, that for over 30 years you never asked about him, you don't know, your children do not even know his name? No, it's not his only. It's himself and all of his asaba, all of his relatives that are related to him without a female in between, right? So the cousins from the father's side, his sons, his parents, his uncles from the father's side, al-asaba, right? These are the ones that briefly are the ones that are not related to him with a female, right? This asaba is a serious one. That means is your cousin, and he is the one that killed by accident someone, right? Or without an accident. I mean, there's a diyah to be paid, and you find yourself that you have $50,000 that you have to pay, right? According to the standards of what we're living, it's not my business. I didn't do it. Why should I bear this responsibility when someone else did it? This is part of the deen. This is part of this salat al-rahim and the relationship that you will have. They have even some share in your money in cases like this. And that's why if the relationship is far away like that and it's weak, you won't feel it. But if it's very strong, people are close to each other, then definitely they will find themselves, this is part of their duty. Of course they have to help it. But this is not an optional thing, this is a mandatory thing. Right? And this is part of the deen. And the same thing, although it's not like the blood relationship, the guests, for example, many meanings are lost here when people are just busy with their life and seeking provisions and so on. The guest, if you have a guest that comes to you, especially if he's not living in the town that you live in, he comes from outside, he has a right on you. He has a right for 3 days, fully right on you, right? That means this is deen. This is not, what am I going to do? This person is coming to disturb me. Or he has financial rights on you that you have to house him for 3 days, right? You don't have the place because for many of us, we don't have a choice when it comes to our houses because we have, whether it's for many reasons, but Muslims, when they used to build their houses and so on, with the simplicity of it, back in the days, the guests, they have a place. When they build their house, there is something called the guest room that has to have a place for them to sleep and a bathroom, totally independent, away from, having anything with the privacy of the home. They will even have a private door to go outside and to come inside. Matters of spaciousness, barakah, mashallah. For many reasons, this is even lost in the Muslim world because of many reasons, our sins and so on. But because of the right of the guest. And if you don't have that space, he has a right on you that you have to go put him in a hotel. It is your right, not his, if he's your guest. You have to go pay for the hotel yourself if you have the means. And you would find this, that it's even in some of the books of the fiqh and others, that in the days where things were applied, he can even go to the police station and report that you didn't take care of him, you didn't house him, because he has a right? This sounds very strange, right? But it shows that guests and relationships and so on, this is something, not an option out of our goodness and that's it. Something that if we are raised from when we're young, that this is something part of our life, to be generous and so on. People, of course, won't reach this level where they have to report each other. It doesn't work. It's not that dry. It's something that comes with. How many people ever heard this? No, it never happens, right? Even if you don't like it and so on, but this is rights. That life is not just governed by what we like and what we feel. This selfishness that we tend to practice all the time. It doesn't mean that people should bother one another. Yes, no, of course not. People should respect the privacies of others and how things changed and so on. But this is part of the deen, and I have a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ and the stories of the prophets and Ibrahim ﷺ and so on. So the point is that in some parts it seems like we've been far away from following the way of the Prophet ﷺ, and we need to do something. So we need to reconnect with our relatives and your cousins, and of course they would feel awkward or make you feel awkward. What do you want after all these years? If you did ask about them, or maybe he's in trouble, he wants money, he needs help of something, right? They would find it very strange. It's okay, let them feel like it's strange, because they would figure out, they would discover that it's not that you need anything from them after some time. When they see you, reuniting the relationship again, and even, sending emails or going and taking yourself, just to go over there, take your children and pay so much money if you have the means, to go visit your relatives. This is something needed to be done. This is something that people need to spend from their money for the intention to go take their children to visit their relatives. MashaAllah, this is a good intention. And your money is not wasted. This is part of the deen. For the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And maybe the trip can be Umrah, Hajj, MashaAllah. This can be many things, good things like this. But to be disunited, disconnected like this, and we claim that we're busy, what can we do, and things like that, this is definitely not part of our deen. This is how we get polluted, right? That we have to make sure that family ties, and not just your wife and the children, but it's with the broader sense, the uncles and the cousins and the cousins of the cousins, any form of a relationship. Even as we heard before, with Salat al-Rahim, the friends of your father and the friends of your mother, those who your mother and father passed away, they still have rights on you. Where there is wahy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about it. And how many of us really do this? The hadith of Ibn Umar, radiallahu anhuma, when he gave his amama and his mule that he was riding to some of the Bedouins, and they asked him, why would you do that while they were traveling? He said that his father, the father of this man, was a friend of Umar radiallahu anhu, Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu. And I heard the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam saying that إن من أبر البر أن تصل أهل ود أبيك بعد أن يولي. That's from the best of righteousness to the parents is that أن تصل, that you connect, that you are kind to the people of that your father or your mother used to love and care for after they died. So it's not just your relatives or your relatives, you're the friends of your father. Who are they? If you remember when you were a child and you remember your father, who was his friends? Their friends died, their children, right? If they need something. To that far, that far a person has to care for others. And as the Prophet ﷺ said to Aisha radiallahu anha, Aisha, in husn al-ahd min al-iman. From al-iman, right? Husn al-ahd, what is husn al-ahd? Is that the goodness of al-ahd is when you had some form of a relationship that you're still faithful to any moment of goodness. This is part of al-iman. Anyone that in your life that you had a moment of goodness with. Even when you were a child, you played with this child, somewhere, and you had some moments together and good times and so on. It is part of an iman that you remember this, that you might ask about him. How is he? That you can send him a gift, right? But as long, of course, because many things would lead to sins, you have to be careful. Because when you were young and everything, people then go different ways of lives and so on. And you would find that people, choose a different way of life. So you have to be careful not to, okay, let's have what do they call it? Reunion. Reunion, and you get to the old friends and everything, and they, start doing things that is not permissible. Of course, that's not permissible. So it doesn't have to be parties and reunions. It's all fake. And it's not about this. It's about goodness from the heart. That can be even matters of da'wah, and calling them to matters of goodness and with the limits. And this is the test, that you have to make sure that it's according to the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the point is, this is part of the deen. This is part of the deen of Islam, that a person can die when he has problems and deficiencies in his deen because of this. Deficiencies in his iman because of the issue of al-arham and the relatives and so on. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ, when he said, "Man kana yu'minu billahi al-yawm al-akhir falyukrim dayfan, wa man kana yu'minu billahi al-yawm al-akhir falyasil rahim." Whoever believes in Allah and the last day, he should be kind to his guests and whoever believe in Allah and the last day, فَلْيَصِلْ رَحِمًا, he should be kind to his rahim, his relatives, and so on. And as the hadith that we all know from Bukhari and Muslim, where the Prophet ﷺ said, مَنْ أَحَبَّ أَنْ يُبْسَطَ لَهُ فِي رِزْقٍ وَيُنْسَأْ لَهُ فِي أَثَرِ فَلْيَصِلْ رَحِمًا. Whoever love for his rizq to be more and his life to be more, we explained that before, فَلْيَصِلْ رَحِمًا, then he should be kind to his relatives. Increases your rizq and increases your life. Although everything has been decreed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but this is whether it's the barakah and the blessings and the rizq and one's life, or literally, physically, things will increase by the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also, as everything is by the qadr of Allah. A person might stab himself and kill, and it's all by the qadr of Allah that he will die at that age. But he took the means to kill himself, which is haram. Or he can choose not to do that and he would live longer, and it's all by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why the qadr is a secret of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we don't know it. So one of which is like the means. A person goes to have a surgery or take medicine, and that by the will of Allah is one of the means that his life is increased, and it's all at the end by the decree of Allah. One of which is this, is to be kind to the relatives and so on. So we talked about it before, but it's important that we continue to do this, and it's one of the important means to enter Jannah. When people are crossing the Salat, the Day of Judgment, underneath which is the hellfire, and on the other side is Jannah, there are two things will either keep the person steadfast or would make him fall, which is, as the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, al-amana al-rahim. Al-amana, trust, with its general meaning. Anything that is of a meaning of trust. Tawheed is trust, Salah is trust, zakah and fasting is all trust. You make a pledge, covenant with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you fulfill it. And the money, when you deal with people with matters of trust, contracts, jobs, whatever there is. The amana and al-rahim. Al-rahim is any relationship, physical relationship. They will be on ala jambatay salat, on both sides of the salat, as the Prophet ﷺ said. Doing what? Either to pull the person down or to help him to be steadfast on the salat. That means if there is weakness or problems in this, that means a Muslim and everything has deeds, mashallah, but that would either slow him down on the salat or be a reason for him to fall into the hellfire or and slowing down on the salat, that means the fire is affecting him, and the hooks from the salat trying to pull him down. It's a serious matter, of course. So this is the rahim, and it's mentioned in the Quran and so on. And they used to give the pledge to the Prophet ﷺ with regards to this. What needs to be done, and there's a book by one of the students of Sheikh Rahimahullah, his name, he has, mashallah, very good small books. His name is Muhammad Ibrahim Hamad. He has very small books in many topics, one of which is Qati'at al-Rahim, or severing the relationship of the kin and kith. He mentioned some of the examples, or some of the things that would help for a person to have this connection and to revive this relationship, is to think of the outcome of this. Basically, the outcome of it based on the text, the wahi from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the outcome is definitely good, right? As long as there's no sins involved. Why? As we heard in the hadith. In this life and the hereafter, these are one of the good deeds that the benefit of it comes in this life, increasing one's provisions, increasing one's life. And in the hereafter, to be steadfast on the salat and to enter Jannah and so on. And to think of the opposite of this, severing this relationship, is a major sin. And not even doing anything about it. Seeking help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because many problems comes as a result of dealing with even relatives. So the person needs to seek help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that the matter is made easy. Because sometimes you have to oppose the bad manners with good manners, because this is an act of worship. It's not a mutual thing here. It's you will be asked individually regardless of the other side, whether they are kind or not. So did we fulfill this? Did we connect it from our side or not? And that's something that we will be asked about. And we heard the hadith before, the man that came to the Prophet ﷺ and he said, إِنَّ لِي قَرَابَ أَصِلُهُمْ وَأَقْطَعُونَ. I have relatives, I أَصِلُهُم. أَصِلُهُم literally is connecting, right? And you can understand what connecting means. That he is trying to make the relationship strong and not severed. And they do the opposite. They don't want me to talk to them or so. وَأُحْسِنُ إِلَيْهِمْ وَيُسِيئُونَ إِلَيْهِ. And it's not just that he's calling and that's it. No, he's وَأُحْسِنُ إِلَيْهِمْ. I'm being kind to them. I do good things to them. Whether it's physically or whatever there is. وَيُسِيئُونَ إِلَيْهِ. And they return that with إساءة, with bad manners, with bad things. وَأَحْلُمُ عَنْهُمْ وَجَهُونَ عَلَيْهِ. I'm forbearing towards them with their bad things that they do to me. وَيَجْهَلُونَ عَلَيْهِ. And they're acting ignorantly towards me. The Prophet ﷺ said that إن كنت كما قلت, if you are what you say, فكأن تسفهم المال, as if you are putting dust on their faces. ولا يزال معك من الله ظهير ما دمت على ذلك. And there will be continuously a help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with you as long as you are like this. This is a great benefit in this life. You are supported, you have the help, you receive the help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as long as you are like this. And Imam Nawawi rahimahullah, he said, explaining this, that this is how the pain that they would get is what the Prophet ﷺ said, as if you're putting hot ashes on their faces, and there's nothing on this muhsin, nothing on that person that is good. There is going to be major sins for them and good things for him. So this is something for a person that these types of things definitely help the person to be kind to his relatives and so on. To accept that you have to make sure that you're preparing yourself, that if they ask definitely for forgiveness or pardoning, that you have to accept this. And as the best example is what Yusuf alayhi salam did to his brothers, and what did they do to him. And you can imagine how that would leave into the heart of someone. They throw it. I don't know anybody, most of the problems that people have with their relatives, it did not reach the level, for the most part, that they throw him into a well when he was young. And the brothers of Yusuf alayhi salam, they did that to him. And he did not even, when they came back and everything, he did not even reminded them in a way that you did this to me, and I'm now in this position, and I would forgive you, but he did not even remind them of this. And he even mentioned, as in Surah Yusuf, as when he was saying to his father, مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا نَزَغَ الشَّيْطَانُ بَيْنِي وَبَيْنَ إِخْوَتِي, that alhamdulillah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought you from the Bedouins and everything. After the shaitan, Nazar, had whispered and came between me and my brothers. He mentioned himself first, not even his brothers first. He did not say after the shaitan had came between them and me, no, between me. This is a state of forgiveness, pardoning, not a state of taking the rights of others. So since it's like this, that's why he was Al-Karim ibn Al-Karim. He was the generous, the son of generous. This is generosity, is not about wealth only. It's generosity with one's irq, with one's honor and dignity, that he is generous with his own dignity and honor towards those who are supposed to be close to him. And why many people would never do this? Because the shaitan whispered that you will be humiliated. They won't appreciate this. They would always think of you. They won't appreciate it, and they would not treat you accordingly. It doesn't matter. You're not doing this for them. You're doing it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the level of manners that we're supposed to observe. So to forget about their shortcomings and so on, but not to stop forbidding evil, and advising them. This is definitely a duty, even if they don't like it, but you do it with sincere intentions and so on. And to, many things, of course, to be done. The humbleness, and we talked about that also before, which is the ulama that always call it at-taghaful. If a person does not practice this with those who are close to him, those who he live with, he will never have good relationships. At-taghaful comes from ghafla. And at-taghaful, at-tafa'ul, is when you go out of your way, you make takalluf to be ghafla. Right? You make yourself, I don't want to say a bad word, but you make yourself forgetful. Right? You see things There are not a sin or anything, but you see things that you don't like. Especially if it's your personal rights are being kind of not well taken care of. And you let it go. You let it go, but not that you keep it inside and it builds up till you explode. No, you let it go because you seek help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, خُذِ الْعَفْوَ وَأْمَرْ بِالْعُرْفِ وَأَعْرِضْ عَنِ الْجَاهِلِينَ. Take al-afu, take what has been, extra from the people. Do not make sure that people, those who live with you, those who are close to you, they have to fulfill your rights into every single detail of it. Do not expect that from them, and do not ask for such a thing from them. Let it be at matters of ease. If they give it, mashallah, this is good. If they don't be after it. Unless it's in the level of a sin, then you need to be concerned towards that person that he's not to commit sins. And this is one of the major issues between husbands and wives. The husband is having expectations and the wife having expectations. And if the expectations are not met, then this is dispute. In the deen, we're supposed to let things go. And this would keep the relationship and would keep the harmony and so on. And it shows also the high level of manners and so on and so forth. As Ibn Hibban rahimahullah said, مَنْ لَمْ يُعَاشِرِ النَّاسِ على لزوم الإغضاء عما يأتون من المكروه وترك التوقع لما يأتون من المحبوب كان إلى تقدير عيشه أقرب منه إلى صفائه وإلى أن يدفعه الوقت إلى العداوة والبغضاء أقرب منه أن ينال منهم الوداد وترك الشحناء. This is very heavy words. He said, the one that would not يعاشر from المعاشرة, he will not live the goodly life and the long life, the long relationship with people, with keeping on forgetfully letting things to go, right, and not going after each and everything and to make sure that they're fulfilling your rights and everything from what they do to you personally, and to leave what the expectations from the one that you love. He says, وَتَرْكِ التَّوَقُّعِ لِمَا يَأْتُونَ مِنَ الْمَحْبُوبِ. تَرْكِ التَّوَقُّعِ. Stay away from expecting things from the one that you love. Don't expect things from them. If it comes, oh mashallah, this is great. But when you expect and it doesn't happen, then it creates problems. If a person does not live his life like this with the ones that he loves, again, two things. لزوم الإغضاء, that he keep on letting things go forgetfully. Again, it's not about sins. If sins are in the house, there's no compromisation in this. But his personal life or personal rights and so on, if he, to لزوم الإغضاء, to let things go and to stay away from expecting things from the one that you love. This person, if he's not like this, his life will be closer to be miserable. Right? كان إلى تقدير عيشه, that his life will be disturbed all the time from being a pure and clean and good life. And that time will push him, if he's like this, to enmity and hatred. Right? That will be closer more than having the good living and staying away from disputes and everything. So this by itself, if it's applied in households and relationships, you would find the matter so easy by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But again, they're not treating me the same way. I'm the one that is doing this, but they are going after with every single detail. It's okay, seek help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And have patience. And with the increase of al-Iman, and nothing will be wasted if it's done for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is no way it's going to be wasted. And that always we relate everything that happens in our life, even takdir Aisha like this, bad times and so on, disputes and so on. It's our sins and our disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We deserve this. So we need to repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and apply these types of things. And Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu, he said, أغمض عيني عن أمور كثيرة وإني على ترك الغموض قدير وما من عمى أغضرني أو ما من عمى أغضي ولكن لربما تعامى وأغضى المرء وهو بصير. The meaning of which that I close my eyes on many things, right? And I'm capable of not doing that, but he would do that, he would choose to do that, to make himself blind when he's not, when he's basir, when he can see. وأسكت عن أشياء لو شئت قلتها وليس علينا في المقال أمير. And I quiet on some things that if I say it, no one is Amir on me. I can do it, I can say whatever I want. You're not like, sometimes you're quiet because you're forced, you don't have a choice, because if you say it, you're going to be in big trouble. No, you have the means to say it, and you're not going to be in trouble, but you choose to be quiet. And this is how leaders are. Whether it's a man in his household or any leader, sometimes he would be quiet of things, not that he would ignore it totally, but he would have his way to, when somebody is raising a lion, right, how we deal with him. This is sometimes how you deal with those who are close to you. Human beings are wild, sometimes rebellious, so if you just use one way, it's not going to work. So sometimes it's lenient and softness, and sometimes it's toughness, and so things changes according to the situation and everything. So sometimes it's not like this is something that will be in everything, and then you find households committing sins and disobedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because we're applying this. Nobody should ever understand it this way. The deen, no compromise in the deen whatsoever. But the house is not clean, the food is not cooked, so what? Things will happen inshallah. Or can be, if it's something that is every day for the whole entire life and it's affecting people's religion, that's a different situation. But why this thing is here, why it's not there, why did you hang this here, why did you put this, things like this, it's, leads to major problems. There are many things to be said, but this is a very important point with regards to the relationship and witnessing their emotions and respecting that. And so I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bring the hearts together, but to just make sure that this is part of our deen. It's part of our deen that we will be asked about in the Day of Judgment. And we have to think of ways to make sure that these relationships are strong and revived and everything, all for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.